I'm just thankful to be thankful, Star Trek. How about you? Today on episode 426 of Trekland Tuesdays Live with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek, coming at you here from the heart of Trekland through, Portal 47, the 10th year of Portal 47. And yes, the home of Trekland Treks, your unique customizable away mission to 4 location sites around Southern California. When you're in town, at your leisure, get with me first. We will create an awesome, awesome day, memorable for you. And the home of co hosting the Exploring Trek Sites Hollywood to LA to Vegas, the big multi day tour with Geek Nation Tours, the 60th anniversary edition, coming the week before Vegas next year. Vegas attendance not included, not necessary. Let us know. Get in touch at geeknationtours.com. Are you ready for some sanity, clarity, and a bigger picture in all things Star Trek this week? I'm so glad to see you, Trekland Tuesdayers, TTLers. And I should say, if you're watching this later on YouTube, welcome as always. You missed the live chat, but you can leave a comment here. My channel is growing. I get into the channel late. So wherever you are, make sure you like and subscribe and ring the bell and get the alerts and all that stuff for everything on the channel. I can say right now that we just had Alice, Cadet Alice, for a couple of days, and we are now halfway through season 2 of Prodigy, which I know you're going to say Prodigy, but for all of those of you who are on a Prodigy, you're missing Prodigy. it's the post Prodigy blues, and you're hoping maybe, as animation does, sometimes it might actually come back in 3 or 4 years when certain things settle. And certain people realize what a great show Prodigy was. More people see it. Maybe we'll fill that up. But for right now, if you're wanting a little bit of a Prodigy fix, I invite you. We're going to start posting season 2 of Cadet Alice and Dr. Trek Watch Prodigy coming soon. I have half the season in the can now, so I think that's a good time to start. We'll get that rolling. But look, thank you guys for your support of everything Trekland, and it's that time of year. It's that time of year. We're still in a low Trek official noise. Now, a lot of folks had a great time, just had a great time at Creation Chicago, Mission to Chicago this last weekend. I've heard little bits and reports dribbling in. In fact, it may have been the best of all the regional cons this year for Creation outside of Vegas. We'll see what the future brings. I know they had a big weekend at Ticonderoga at the Trek tours up there, the set tours. So we're chugging right along, singing a song. We're in a whiplash mode, watching Anson Mount, if you're not following his socials, talk about the final days of shooting Strange New when we haven't even seen season 4, much less half of the 6 episodes of their season 5, much less, I know, Academy, which is next up. But, I've said it many times, I so hate this era of write it 1 year, film it the next year, get it to the audience, and now we can talk about it, but it's been 2 years since we wrote it and a year since we acted it. It's just all out of joint, and I'm glad the studios are at least shooting documentary footage at the time, but even when they're shooting, that's a year, 9 months or a year after the writers wrote it. Is anybody getting the writers' thoughts within weeks of when they churned out these episodes? Well, I used to, unofficially. No one's picked up that gauntlet, because apparently the only time a show is worth talking about is when it's been on the tube or it's in front of a camera. Okay, there's all kinds of layers to recording and analyzing and archiving any episode of Star Trek. And I have gotten way into the weeds here on you guys. That's sorry when I get off on my soapbox about that. No. A soapbox doesn't have to be, bitches and moans and gripes, because today's theme is about, in lieu of the week we have here in the States, and I'm a month behind Canada, I guess, what I'm thankful for. And I was thinking the other day, you know what? When it comes to Star Trek, I'm just thankful to be able to be thankful. And you're like, what are you double talking, Larry? No, this is what I mean. Do you realize what this time stream, what this timeline has done to us? I mean, you realize like where we are, where we have been. For instance, I mean, like, I'm I'm just thankful that apparently with all these roller coasters of news and events, I'm just thankful that we're not staring down the barrel of an extreme pendulum swing. That we're not looking at a 10 or 12-year black hole of Star Trek again, fresh Star Trek. Much less Star Trek going away because of the weirdness of streaming. Someone's still intelligent enough that Star Trek in this capitalist system still makes money, aside from being, incredibly inspiring and therapeutic even for people. Just much less enjoyable and a model to model behavior and thoughts and opinions and philosophies on. No, it's also a pretty good paycheck too for a lot of people in all different ways, pre and post time, years later. Thank you, licensing and merch, right? No, I guess the bottom line there is we're not looking at some crazy, with all the crisis in the world and the changes in media and the changes in the owners of Paramount, of the owners of Star Trek, Paramount, that we're not looking at some insane 10 or 12-year gap here, or we have to jump through hoops to get. I mean, we have to see, but apparently that's not what's going to happen. I mean, we can also say maybe that we're thankful for apparently streaming Trek will be stable at least for now, and it won't go away either. That streaming as a whole didn't blow up and the world had to figure out what was going to replace it. That apparently it's going to stabilize and, again, in this system we're in, be profitable for its own continuance. So the marriage of technology and art creativity and capitalist delivery systems to pay for it all, that's going to survive, at least in its present form, at least, not be one more ripple. We're not going to go from linear TV to cable to syndication to streaming, and we all go along for the ride. We're fairly kind of stabilized, it feels like right now. Not as chaotic as it could be. And at least it looks like won't go away. Gosh, there's a reason there was a debate about the canonicity of the TAS, the animated series, was because it just went away. If you were lucky enough to have VHS taped, not in the 70s, but on some of the comebacks on Nickelodeon, when they ran the animated series, if you were smart enough, like some of us taped some of them, you had some of them for a long time. It was a long time before you could see any, before they made it to videotape, much less the DVDs. What, in around 06 or something? They went away. And people are like, oh, they were just the cartoons. They weren't worth it. Well, thank you, B. Joe's Concordance, for at least preserving them there in print. No, I mean, and this whole exercise we've gone through with Prodigy lately, the first season is still not on Nickelodeon. Second season still is. It's wacky. Hopefully it'll all get back to Paramount Plus. But apparently, for the most part, it feels like streaming is stabilizing. And they say the new regime at Paramount Global, Skydance, says they're going to keep the movies, at least keep the movies on Paramount Plus, even if they license them out to Netflix or Hulu or Prime or who knows where. But at least they would stay and not wholesale jump one or the other. So that's something to be, just some kind of stability and continuity. The C word when it pertains to where you can just see Star Trek. Hopefully that's kind of stabilizing. And you know what? Even when we're looking at radical new changes, and I know there's some things that are in this world of today that are worrying people, like what tone, what direction, dare I even say, what politics is Star Trek? I have to think that at the bottom line there's a money-making sensibility. And I'm not trying to confuse the father Ellison with the son Ellison, the son who combined, who co-produced, I know his movies, Stid and then Beyond. So the jury's still out there. I remain optimistic. But one thing I am excited about, and it's last week's episode here, if you didn't see it, is that if nothing else, they're talking about having all new characters. But after first blush, I'm nervously hoping, optimistic that they don't mean an all new universe, because what would be the point? I'm happy to have a bold take into all, as long as they fit. and whatever era they're in, if the historical events and the technology level and the depictions, if it fits and visual canon, much less concept canon, isn't ignored, and then we get on with some adventure and hopefully some moralizing or at least some allegories, at least some Mother Goose level life lessons. If that remains part of what Star Trek is, then yay. But I'm excited not to have yet another reboot. No, it's not time to recast Picard and Data. Young Picard and Data. No. So, I don't know. That's a weird one. It could be worse. We'll see how it's better. So far, I'm being thankful that I'm not just apoplectic out of the gate. So there's that. And you know what else? It occurred to me because, time is marching on here as we boldly go into the new ownership of Trek and the new formats and the new tech and all that. But you know what we can be thankful for? Do you realize as this calendar year turns into the next, we're looking at 4 and 5 years since our last big boogeyman, the pandemic. Do you remember how uncertain things were in March 2020? I mean, I was right here every week. I'd been here for 3 or 4 years by then. And I knew, thanks to Portal, that we had this device called virtual streaming. I knew that it was not only good for doing the burgeoning number of YouTube shows, but it was good for being live. I'd used freeconferencecall.com for the first 4 years of Portal. And then when the pandemic hit, I finally said, fine, the world is learning Zoom. I'll go to Zoom. And it was a better, smoother platform. It wasn't free, but it worked. And I mean, here's the thing. I remember this, but for 95% of the world, much less fandom, do you remember the world before Zoom? Now? I mean, I was doing this just on, Facebook Live, and now I'm restreaming. But I'm talking about Zoom when people are all on camera and having virtual meetups, all of that. A lot of you were, some of you were at the open house a couple of weeks ago, and it wound up being with David Goodman, but we did a sample Ask Dr. Trek roundtable at the beginning, which is kind of an open mic night. It's just usually our membership, but on open house, obviously, it's open to everybody. And here's everybody on camera, big old Zoom wall. Remember when it was so new that commercials and Saturday Night Live, everybody did their parodies of Zoom etiquette and Zoom. Now it's old hat. It's old hat. Yeah. Does it all seem like ancient days now? I mean, we were so paranoid. We were so apoplectic, scared about what would happen to fandom, to our ability to socialize, much less civilization itself. It was crazy there for a while. And then it just turned into for the duration, right? The old World War II term, for the duration. How long will this last? How long will this? And if you could avoid, getting your knickers in a twist about how long it was taking because, science, disease, medicine, you could just wait it out. I knew we'd gotten through depressions and wars. I was hoping that modern civilization was not so wimpy that we couldn't at least do as well as our forefathers and forefathers, as they say on Vulcan, do. Depression 10 years long, World War 5 years. I was hoping we could at least do that. And we did. With this as a large part of the survival mechanism. And yet, just like, Velcro and instant meals, it survived. Do boomers and Gen X forget that their IRC existed? Well, now come on. I'm talking about the mass of folks. I'm talking about mass across the not just the tech heads, the hobbyists, not just the ham radio operators of the new wave of tech. Okay, Jonathan, international fandom has been online and via mail for decades now. Okay, again, I'm talking the masses here, grandmas, as well as the kindergarten kids. Anyway, all I'm saying is I am thankful that we hit that we had this to rely on, and that it's been 5 years. And yes, that even feels like ancient days. And speaking of ancient days, lost in the blur of where we are right now, you know what? We have this. We have increasing tech. Um, it's only been like 4 years since the end of. It's been 5 years since the beginning of the shutdowns and going viral, going virtual. I mean, um, 4 years since the end of it. Seems like 14, doesn't it? Does it seem like ages ago since we first hit the pandemic? But here's something that's gotten lost in the blur of all that transition. You know, don't if you look around, there's so much more to rival, right? Podcasts and YouTubers have come up, much less the return of real Trek. But you know what? We still have fan films out there. We still have Trek fan films. They pop up, they come, they go. Some of them are old friends. Farragut is ending its run. So salute to John Broughton and all the Farragut folks, Farragut Forward. But what's funny is them and all the other, there's still people, whether they are wannabe filmmakers and they see this as a baby step, or they're just mom and pop fans who want to do the fun thing as best they can, and they don't care about how professional and slick and polished they look. It's the whole gamut, and that's true of everything in fandom, right? You're doing it for the passion, but you know what? Somewhere along the way, and this has been coming up on 10 years, 9 now, we've somehow, and shh, don't tell anybody. Apparently, no one cares about the rules anymore. Maybe this should have been a whole topic unto itself. Remember the eventual coming out of the hoo-ha with Axanar, the 15-minute, you could have 15-minute fan films about the same characters and situation. That was part of the new rule. Not making any money, being non-commercial is still the underlying, go-to here. But apparently, those old time limits and numerical limits are out the window with almost all of the different fan film producers I saw. So I'm not saying I that's weird to say I'm thankful for that, but what I guess I'm saying is I'm thankful that time has moved on. I'm thankful that some of the things that kept us all animated for forever, and whether the pandemic made it feel like forever or not, does it feel like the era of, Kurtzman Trek? Does it feel like all that, whether you liked it or not? Or as most people, I'm going to say, have done with rewatches, just letting the years go by, I think people's views have evolved. Because the series have evolved. Because how could they not? So without going there, I'm just saying time has moved on. And maybe some of us are still stuck in 5 years ago or 10 years ago even. For different ways, different reasons. And we're on the precipice here of a brave new world in a lot of ways. Inside Paramount Blue Sky, I started to say Blue Sky. Blue Sky is a social app. Can I say Skydance? Yes, I can. I can say Skydance. Inside Paramount Skydance or P-Sky. Inside that and without, in the world in general. It's end of the year. We're going to get a lot more navel-gazily as we get to the end of the year, and we have the holidays to distract us. You get closer to the end of the year, New Year's, and everybody does the retro looks backwards and all that. But I was looking at it here from the standpoint of, what do we have to be thankful for? Could things be a lot worse? I know there's some level a year ago I was pretty down about, and I've been buoyed and bolstered by the reaction of the world in general with inside these lower 48 states and Alaska and Hawaii too. I have been encouraged and heightened. And I'm also thankful, gang, totally on a personal note, that our move has worked out well. And I've got, I hate the vague post here, but I've got some things coming up in the next year that I am really excited about, that I still don't even know where they're going to go. I don't know how big or how small they will be, but I'll be telling you about them in the coming year. I'm just really thankful that apparently there's some life in this old gal yet here. I suddenly went feminine. I don't know why. But 2026 is going to be exciting for a lot of reasons. And even as as some of you know personally, we're still reacting to the loss of the Will Rogers Ranch House and the structures and some of the chunk of the contents. But there will be a forward, there will be a future, and that's my Will Rogers world. But that's going to move forward. But I have some orbiting planets here and some other worlds. They're going to be big for the year, and I'm excited for that. I'm thankful that they're apparently happening. That people still feel like it's worth it to contact me about something, and that's there. But it's like new with the old. We don't want any whiplash here. So I'm looking forward to still being in contact with everybody. Portal 47, the Treks, Cadet Alice, and hey, when we have Fresh Trek again, yeah, second opinion. Everything here in my little online domain that our Patreons help with, and thanks to all that. And I am thankful. Just I say, bottom line. I mean, we look. I'm gonna be realistic here. I've said it already. We do have a lot of questions. We have questions with Star Trek. We got questions on the movie sides. We have the barest beginnings. We just had the 10-year anniversary of the announcement of something on TV coming back for Star Trek. And it's a lot like that time. We knew something was happening, but we didn't know what it was going to look like. And in time, at that point, you get the announcement in November, and then in March, you find out Brian Fuller, it's called Discovery, whatever that means. It's going to be Prime, or they weren't smart enough to tell us that. And somebody along the way, setting a tone for the coming years, somebody outside the official promotion machine, not that it was a spoiler, but Brian or someone else said, yes, it's Prime, it's not Kelvin. What's the point? And so when that happened, I knew that Kelvin was dead, because who was going to care? In real world, in real time, when things weren't strange, no one cares about the Kelvin universe. So because you've got 800 hours invested in this other thing. Might have got along if there'd been an actual point to it, aside from it's exactly like everything you know until it's not, as I've said many times. But the time we're in right now is like that. But nevertheless, there was barely enough even out there for the debaters to debate. We weren't even to the trailer time, and the two women of color, that 20% hate bot troll world that we learned so much about, even as it broke upon us. We're not even to that stage yet. And 10 years ago, we weren't there in the beginning. Otherwise, it was just all the questions and all the wonderment. And we're in that position now with a movie. And then apparently, eventually, we have an entire series to watch, unless we're already counting it over because its maker is over. And there's complications in there too. So yeah, we do. I'm not being Pollyanna here. We have a lot of questions about movies. We have a lot of questions, especially on the TV side now. But here's the thing: at least we have questions. At least we're in a place where we know we have questions, and we know the questions to ask because we don't know the questions to ask. Does that make sense? We know what we don't know, so we're there. So I guess if you're going to talk about being thankful about a whole list here, I guess the best way to frame that is to look and say, well, what are we thankful to not, right? We're thankful to have Trek. We're thankful for it not to be 1969. We're thankful for it not to be, I don't know, 2006, 2005 again. We're thankful for it not to be us standing here holding the remnants of what we just saw and a bleak horizon in front of us. That's not where we are. Even with all the chaos and the shakeup and the, jamming our juice here, all the questions that remain, we know we're not in that bleak. We're not facing another era of the fallow years. We're not looking at the desert years. And for right now, maybe that's the best thing to be thankful for. I'm not talking about the glass half full versus the glass half empty. Our glass is a lot more than half empty. Just saying. And the fact that we don't know all the answers and all the questions is apparently going to keep us all in one of our favorite hobbies, which is jabbering about it, I guess. So whether you're face to face with your fan friends and family, this week end, if you're Americans during your Thanksgiving, or for basically the entire world, because who doesn't have a major holiday this time of year? What culture got left out of not having or creating something for this time of year? As we head into this time, and we're not signing off for a month. We'll still be around every week. Maybe even have some guests coming up before the end of the year. But we're going to be. Those thoughts that's there. Whatever happens, remember that. Remember that we're not in a vacuum. We are not in a black hole of Trek right now. And we have a lot coming up. And we have a lot coming up. Finally, we know, right? Mid-January for finally seeing Starfleet Academy and all the blips and teases and promotional stuff and the fake posting. And hey, shout out to Strategy for 2 Emmy this year to the great Kate Mulgrew for Real Janeway and Hologram Janeway season 2, and the gang for the show itself. I believe it's the finale. So shout out for the nominations. The awards are down the road a little bit. We'll see how that goes. There you go. You didn't need Cadet Alice to make Prodigy relevant. You got 2 Emmy nominations, but it's still very much in the conversation and still very much in our hearts out there. And the way the wacky world of animation goes, it's still very much, even though it doesn't feel that way, it's very much an existential thing. Same as Lower Decks. Apparently nothing ever dies in animation. Things die even less than animation than they do in live action syndication and reruns. So gang, yeah. I'm just thankful to be able to be thankful. And how about you? Hey YouTubes, I'm going to be leaving now. You're watching us later. I'm sad you missed the live Sunday. Maybe you can join us on a Tuesday afternoon, Pacific, Central, Eastern time. It's in the evening for the Europeans. We're on at 9 UK time and 10 p.m. Central Europe. And then you figure your zone around the world. But love for you to join us live sometime. And until you can, please keep it alive here. Keep the stuff going in the comments. And also make sure, of course, you like and subscribe and all the things. But first, I just want to say, remember what else is going on, because these are the folks that I really, really love to thank. It's our Patreons. It's my TTL club, Trekland Tuesdays Live. Yeah, that's Chuck A., James Kerwin, Diana Hopkins, Halbert Gunjanssen, Lawrence Todd, Chris Yiggins, Mitch Keith, Keith Rombach, Josh Patton, Pranakasha Productions, and Comedy Forecast. And then our live wires. Yep, J.R. Poole, Gary Williams, Robert McLean, Byron Bailey, MJ Frug, Gareth, Brandon Coles, Dave Gregory, Jesse at Crusher Convo, Donna S. Runyon, and Casey Shatsky. Yeah, some of you love the way I do that. It's funny how just things get started, right? They are all in on my patreon.com/Trekland Live. It's simple, $5 and $10 a month between the 2 tiers. I know I am so overdue, gang, to get you live wires. You're back. Your earlier year Portal 47 interviews. We had a glitch the last time I did this, and I need to go fix that, right? It's Tuesday. That means it's also Trekland. It's a Trek Files Tuesday. We're in the middle of season 14, our weekly episodes from Roddenberry. So proud to be associated with this show. John Champion's the producer. He does such a great job. I wrangle the guests and the content most of the times. And this week, it's John and me with our annual seasonal mailbag. It's a very special edition of the mailbag because we're using the mail from the great, the great letter zine or Locazine, letter comment zine, Interstat. I got into Interstat with issue 41. We're spotlighting issue 109 because it was the first issue after the news broke about TNG, whatever that meant, in October 1986. The first wave of reaction to TNG among all the other topics of the time. Yeah. Yep. This was my very first Interstat. I got in with number 41. It ran probably 10, 12 years until the internet's made it moot. We're going to get back to some more Interstat copies because they're amazing. This week, though, we just see what fans were reacting in 1986 to news of a new Star Trek. Remember, the first new Star Trek. And it's really enlightening and revealing. John and I have a great time as always. You can get the Trek Files wherever, especially now at thetrekfiles.com. It's all there. The page, the documents of the week, and the audio player on Memory Alpha with the hot links back to Memory Alpha. Take advantage of that. And yes, I have a Patreon. Roddenberry Mission Log has a Patreon that includes the Trek Files. If you want the live community folks, the message boards, if you're a Trekophile spelled with an F, I hope you'll go over. It's a grand, huge $1 a month. The minimum access is $1 a month at the Roddenberry Mission Log, and then you get access to all the Roddenberry podcasts and their communities, and some of the online shows that they do in Discord. This is all through Discord. That they do in Discord that aren't even attached to some of the members of the Roddenberry Mission Log community have their own shows, and they're like sci-fi adjacent. And there's a Galactica show, there's a meetup group, there's all kinds of things, and it's a ton of fun. And yeah, Trek Files is in there too. So we finally have an active Trek Files community. I hope you could, for the Trekophiles tonight, every other Monday. Just had it yesterday. So in 2 weeks, we'll be back at 4 Pacific on a Trekophiles Tonight night. I really need a sign for all that, don't I? Yeah. Meanwhile, it's still Larry Nemecek for Twitter and Blue Sky. It's Larry's Trekland on Facebook, Instagram, and yeah, here. Subscribe when you can. Portal47.net. Love to have you. Love to have you. You can go read about it at portal47.net. Gang, that's going to do it for our later edition. Everybody hang on. Of course, we're getting a second. But if you're leaving us now, YouTubers, hey, please, 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 we'll see you next Tuesday. And until then, in the States, yeah, I'm going to say stay healthy, travel safe, and do all the things, okay? And, there's going to be a lot of public mixing. The new COVID and flu strains are on the rise. So please, 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 I know it feels old and you've been through the war with it, but please do all the things. And boy, howdy. Stay woke and check the sources. And yeah, trek well, everybody.